Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, as you all know, I'm a huge music fan and currently pinning my hopes on the Glastonbury ticket resale in a few weeks to desperately try and get my hands on that 50th Glastonbury Festival birthday party extravaganza, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I have been 12 times before, but I still come back for more. I think it's because there's 1,000 artists across 100 stages and every genre you can think of. It's just my idea of music heaven. But as a music fan, I'm also all too aware of the problems in the music industry and ask myself, couldn't technology solve some of these problems? For example, let me give you a scenario. A singer with a vision for a new single is looking for a producer. She asks around, finds a guy who's a friend of a friend. Everything sounds promising. They come to terms, she pays him, but then she gets ghosted. She's got no track, and now she has to raise the money from scratch, doubling the cost of that single. Now, unfortunately, that story is likely to happen regularly to artists, managers, and music professionals throughout the industry. Now, DeCarlos Garrison, a music veteran and serial tech entrepreneur, said, "A shared scene or network should imply trust, but that trust is too often broken, either explicitly or due to a misunderstanding, and that's something that he had experienced firsthand on numerous occasions. So he went out to solve it. And after reading that, I invited him on the podcast today to talk about how he experienced those problems firsthand, but ultimately how he leveraged technology to create solutions to those very real problems. That solution that he created with his co-founder is called BandPay, which is a fully customizable payment platform that allows two parties to establish a milestone in a project, assign payments to each milestone, and guarantee that those funds are available to complete a transaction. Now, I don't want to reveal too many spoilers, so instead, I'm going to try and beam your ears all the way to Florida, where founders Gleb and DeCarlos Garrison will reveal more about this milestone-based payment platform that will guarantee trust between collaborators. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I'm DeCarlos Garrison, and I'm here with my co-founder, Gleb Tepper.
Hello.
Hey.
So a little bit about us. We created a platform that we feel that helps solves a very crucial problem in the music industry in general, and that we want to help address that problem because it's something dear to our heart. So we basically been, in the tech business almost like 6-7 years now.
Yes.
So we originally started off as a company called BandPay.
Yeah.
And so BandPay was an artist development platform that kind of like teach you the music industry. And BandPay was a part of that. It was one of our products that we were going to launch. But as we ran out of runway and trying to raise capital and everything wasn't in position at the time to make it happen, we decided to pivot and start BandPay. So that's a little detail about us for as that. And Gleb is really the tech person. My background is the music side, the entertainment space, and it is something dear to our heart.
And payments in the music industry is such a hot topic at the moment. So just for everyone listening and help to get everyone on the same page and help them understand how creators rightfully want to make sure their work is properly compensated, especially in this complex web of digital production, distribution, marketing. Could you maybe expand on that and just get everyone listening to understand the scale of the problem that we're talking about here?
Well, that's a great question, first and foremost. That's a couple. I'm going to kind of answer in two parts. One, I think it's just the fact that it's time consuming as a creator. If you're trying to create a product and you, at this point in time, hopefully you're getting paid, right? You don't know you're getting paid yet. So you have agreement, you may have got a deposit and so on and so forth. So you work and hoping you get the rest. But a lot of times the rest don't come, or so you did the work, or you don't got the money, you got to go chase the money. So just chasing the money becomes another job, right? We're just having a conversation in the office about some that may take you an hour. You only took you an hour to do, right?
Yeah.
And to get paid for, but it may take you 3 to 4 hours to hunt down the money, right? So with that part, we want to, give the press team back a time back and also a peace of mind, right? Because 9 out of 10, if you go to work and you work for somebody, you clock in, and at the end of that day, you're going to have a certain amount of money that coming to you because y'all on a fair or trustworthy plan unless you get fired, right?
Yeah.
The second part of this thing is that it's so many different platforms and apps and conferences that goes after the music industry or the creators in general. But what ended up happening is the fact that there's no platform that's helping you secure those funds, right? There's nothing helping you to get your money back, your investment back from the money you spent on these products or on these conferences, things like that. So no one's talking about how do you get paid or where the money is or how to find the money, right? So what BandPay want to do is help you do that, like secure those funds for yourself. Those funds in there. So now when you working, you can be in a creative space and be free worried about are you going to get paid, and vice versa for the person that's buying your creative space, right? Or buying your service. At least they know, okay, cool. I know that I still have access control to make this payment. It's in the system, so I can transfer it over when the job is complete. So we offer peace of mind and accountability.
So how is BandPay helping to tackle all those problems you've just talked about there? Because it seems like it can cover so much for an artist or a creative, can't it?
So yes, BandPay, at the end of the day, it's a milestone transaction system. It's an app on your phone, whether it's iOS or Android. And what it does is we attach the money that you're sending to an agreement. And that agreement has milestones and deadlines. So based on that agreement, we hold the funds in the system. As the milestones are met, those funds are released. We hold both parties accountable to that agreement. And we just give you that peace of mind that everything is secured in the system and will flow as planned.
And one of the things I love doing on this tech podcast is, yes, we talk about the latest tech solution, how it's solving real problems. But I'm also fascinated and driven by the story behind these tech startup journeys. So I've got to ask, what is the startup journey behind BandPay? And can I possibly take you back to where you began your career as a college rep for Def Jam Records back in 1995? And also how you got where you are today?
Well, man, that's a great story. So how I became got to doing a college rep for Def Jam, I was attending school, and I was going to school for an engineer. I knew I didn't want to be an engineer, but my mom wanted me to be an engineer. So went to school, and I just happened to be as any in the States, most college kids, we don't really have money. So I'm just trying to figure out how can I, buy my next meal. So I ran across this guy, and he was like putting up posters and stuff. Like, man, what are you doing? He's like, well, I work for, I think he worked for Sony at the time, right? Yeah. And he's like, yo, but I heard Def Jam is looking for a college rep as well. You should apply. So I went on the line. I just called, and then I kind of faxed over my resume. 2 weeks later, I got a big old box in the mail with no instructions. So now I got to go put out posters and pass out CDs. But what I learned from Def Jam, and also moving forward in my career, because like everything I've done so far have been based into the entertainment space, from radio to management. So I kind of like got a bird's eye view of the whole system moving forward. So what Def Jam taught us was being hand to hand and communicating with people, how to expand your brand to your true core and find out where your core is. And they understood exactly their audience, right? So they didn't try to play too much outside their sandbox. Their main goal was user acquisition. How many fans can we get to support this band that's in colleges, right? Because they know if they get to colleges, everybody go home for the summer. And everybody going to spread the music they found in that system. So therefore, that kind of like been the plan for most marketing companies. They go out the target crowd, go out to colleges first because they're going to adapt to it early if it fits them. And then once they're away, they're going to actually start talking about it. So after I finished Def Jam, I got into radio. I worked urban radio for a while. Then I moved down to Florida and worked in Top 40 for now it's called iHeartRadio. So that kind of like just molded how my thought process. And I seen a lot of things close hand. I've seen people, stuck overseas and, got a bag full of cash. They have to put it into the FedEx box and mail it back over, so they can keep from getting charged, so it's a lot of different things you see that kind of like leads to this path of, creating BandBasher. And then from BandBasher, we started creating BandPay because it's just the love that it's a passion I have. I just hate seeing people work so hard and then you lose money, right? Because as an artist, if you pay somebody $2,000 to do something for you, and then that person don't deliver, you don't have most artists don't have the resources to go hire an attorney to go chase down $2,000, right? Because you end up spending more money on the attorney and all the time you spend trying to get $2,000. Then that $2,000 also sets you back. So now it takes time to rebuild that $2,000 what you got from the first place, or it got to come from another part of your budget because you need this completed for your project. So all those things come into play because those things I have witnessed firsthand. So what's the best way to do that is make sure everybody is upfront and we created an even playing field for everybody.
What a great story. And I love how the industry has evolved with you since 1995 and how you've then actually gone on to leverage technology to solve those problems that you encountered firsthand. It's a great story. And speaking of the technology, this is a tech podcast. So could I ask that you walk me through the technology that actually makes BandPay possible?
Right. Well, the technology is really, it comes down, it's an iOS and Android app. These are native apps. And it comes down to, the back-end technology that's available now has really made it possible for us. DeCarlos and I, we built sort of a prototype of this model years ago. I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago. And the problem then is we could achieve something similar to an escrow type system, but it was clunky and it was slow. It took a lot of time. It was the type of thing that required you to go to the bank and make a wire transfer and wait a couple days for funds to show up. So while the concept was there, the technology behind it to pull this off really wasn't. And we've come to a time where it's really simple. Majority of people have adapted to something like this on their phone. We see that 80% of the population now has some type of payment app that they can use on their phone to easily send money. So the technology is available today. Most people are familiar with it. They know how to use something like this. And it's become really simple to instantly send money. The issue, it really comes down to the security. Most of the solutions out there do not offer any type of assurance, security, or accountability in the transaction. So that's what we're bringing to the table and really the difference that we offer.
Excellent. And since you guys you actually set out to reduce friction and increase trust between people making music and those undertaking other projects together. So I've got to ask, do you have any feedback stories that will just help artists listening just understand the kind of difference that you're making to real people out there?
We hear stories every day.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I think the most recent story that kind of pops out in our head, we was out in LA for like Grammy weekend, and we was at one of the many events that we was out there. And we was walking around with our company t-shirt or sweaters on, and this guy stopped us and asked like, so what's your company? And we started talking to him, explaining our company. He really, I'm not going to say the name of the app he used, but he really pulled out his phone and showed us all the money he was sent to this person he was doing business with. And it was about $12,000, right? And he's like, I still haven't got the product that I paid for. He's like, I went to the apps to see what they could do. There's nothing they could do for it. So those are the conversations that he had. He's like, but I still have to go, and I still didn't know the video, so I had to still pay for a video. I didn't have time to go chase this guy for the money. I just had to go bite the bullet and figure it out. And so, like, those are the stories that catch our attention, that let us know we're on the right path. You know, we have had pushback. I'm not going to say we have not. And some of the pushback been people that worry about adapting or going through our app because they're not used to using our app, right? And my reply to them is kind of very simple. It's, well, you may not use us now, but you will use us later, because the people that have been burnt in the past or people that have problem collecting payment are going to gravitate towards our app. And if that point in time that you want to work with somebody using our app, then if you don't want to use our app, then they're going to question your credibility, because if you on the up and up, then there should be no reason.
And if there is anybody listening that would like to find out more, can you just walk me through possibly a use case just to help that artist that's listening to this anywhere in the world and help them understand exactly how it works and how they can get the most out of it?
Sure. So let's say, for instance, you are actually a creator, right? So yeah. I want to hire you to do an interview on the podcast for us, right? So you tell me, okay, I have prep time, I have to work on this, work on that. So therefore, you set up your milestones. You say, here's the price, here's what it's going to cost. So for the first week, I'm going to work on this, and it's going to cost this. In the next milestone, it's going to take me 2 weeks, and I'm going to work on this. But by the third milestone, it'll be final product, and it's going to cost you this. So what happened is the total amount get put into our milestone system, and the money sit there. So both parties see the money is there. And both parties got to agree on the milestone and the amount per milestone, right? And the due date as well. So as the milestone is complete and the due date is hit, each money amount gets transferred over. And the great thing about our system, that we also offer any kind of dispute resolution as well. So we do offer you to, once you seeking work it out amongst each other first, but if that don't work, then we have a dispute process as well, because sometimes as being a creative person or selling a product good, it may not work for you or you may not like it. So our job is try to make sure that we all come to understand a fair agreement, and if not, we move to dispute. And at that point in time, we handle that from there.
So where do you guys go from here? What's next for BandPay? Because listening to you today, your passion really comes across, and I get the impression that you're going to continue to evolve and move forward. Yes.
So we have quite a few products in mind that we want to actually release, but we're going to let the data decide what we're going to do next. So whatever our users, we see our users come in on as we go around and talk to our users, we're going to talk to them and see what they're looking for, or ask them about this particular product we're thinking about releasing next. And if that weighs in well for them, that's the next step we're going to move for. But our whole goal is to actually be a complete system for the music industry, a complete platform for the music industry.
And for anyone listening that wants to download the app, find out more information on the website, can you just point them in the right direction of where they can find that information, or even contact your team if they do have any burning questions after listening to us today?
Yes, the best and the easiest is bandpay.me. From there, you can see our site. You can contact us. You'll be able to download the app as soon as it's available next month. And it has links to all of our social media as well. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn as well.
Well, I always say at the end of every podcast that technology works best when it brings people together. And the fact that you guys are reducing friction and increasing trust between people making music and undertaking other projects together, it is just something quite beautiful in that. I love how you're leveraging technology for those reasons. So more than anything, though, just a big thank you to you both for joining me on the podcast today.
Well, thank you so much for having us, Neil. Appreciate it.
I cannot thank De Garrison and Gleb enough for sharing that powerful story with us all today. And I love how the platform streamlines two-party agreements by setting up deadline-based milestones in a given project and then assigns those payments to each milestone. Ultimately, I think that builds accountability and minimises errors, especially with the feature that guarantees that those funds are made available to complete a transaction. And using tech to establish trust by ensuring all parties, from musicians to producers to social media influencers, all stick to their side of the agreement is incredibly cool, and it solves a real problem. But I'm curious, do we have any artists listening to this podcast today? And if we do, I want to hear from you, and I'd love for you to share your stories and how you could possibly see BandPay helping you. And if you do check BandPay out, whether it be today, next month, 6 months or a year from now, and you're just hearing this podcast, please email me and let me know how you get on. And equally, if you have any questions or want to come on this podcast, remember, my details are: email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk, where you'll find today's episode and over 1,100 other interviews with people that are using technology to really make a difference and solve real problems. So keep those messages coming in. I'm going to get out of here now, and after speaking with De Garrison and Gleb, I'm feeling a little bit depressed hearing about that hot Florida sunshine sat here in front of my podcast microphone in a cold, wet, rainy UK. So I'm going to go pour myself a whiskey in a dirty glass, but I'll return tomorrow with another great guest. So thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.